Hey, what's up, guys? This is Two Nerd Sportscast. I'm Lee,
And I'm Joel.
and hell yeah, let's get into this. So there is a lot of stuff to talk about today. There was some interesting things that happened in free agency this past week, like T.Y. Hilton staying in the Colts, staying in that Colts uniform, not even remotely going to think about taking offers from another team like the Ravens.
Yeah. Poor Ravens, they missed out on him. May have gotten another guy, but didn't get TY.
No, yeah, I mean, I kind of didn't see Ty going anywhere other than the Colts. It just, I mean, being a Texans fan for so long and seeing Ty Hilton, I didn't see him going anywhere else.
Makes sense. He is a long time Colt. It makes sense for him to go back. I mean, maybe next year he might have to depart though, since it's only that 1 year, $10 million deal, I think.
I mean, they could also be
But
doing that because of the cap, but
possibly, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe he's just giving Carson Wentz a 1 year trial, see how it goes, and then if he doesn't like him, see ya.
hey, if I'm Ty, that's not a bad idea to have. But moving on to the Buccaneers. Now, we're not going to talk too much about the Bucks because we talked about them a lot last week. But them re-signing Sue and Fournette, they are the only team in NFL history after winning a Super Bowl to sign all 22 of their starters.
Can't believe they managed to pull it off. I thought
It's,
they were going to be losing at least 3 or 4 of them. I mean, with the amount of free agents they had, but they managed to get them all back. I mean, AB is still out there, and they're struggling with that contract negotiation a little bit. But even if they don't get him back, they just replace him in the draft. Everybody else is back, gang's back together. I don't see why they can't run it back again.
no, yeah, and a big reason why they were able to get everybody back is because almost everyone took a hometown discount. It's looking like from some rumors today that AB's not wanting to take a similar hometown discount. So that might be a big reason why the Bucks are okay with moving on from him if they don't come to an agreement. But yeah, like everybody taking hometown discounts in Tampa Bay. It's crazy. Um but moving on to a crazy situation, but crazy weird with the Damian Williams to the Bears situation. Um, three running backs now for
Three
the Bears.
mediocre running backs at that. David Montgomery and Tariq Cohen and Damian Williams aren't exactly top of the line running back material. Maybe if you went with two of them, but why do you need three? You aren't gonna. They can't pull off a Ravens type 3 headed, 4 headed monster.
No, no,
So I
no,
don't
no.
see.
This three-headed monster is nothing like this is like a three-headed puppy. The Ravens was a
Yeah,
three-headed Cerberus, okay? Like
doesn't doesn't make sense. One of them's gonna have to leave via cut or trade or whatever.
yeah, and I mean, looking at their stats, like I mean, I know stats don't tell everything, but it might tell us on who the Bears are possibly wanting to cut, even if you like Tariq Cohen. I mean, he was only used for 14 rushes for 74 yards last season. Like,
And granted, he got hurt after the big contract, but
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, like, they don't utilize him like at all last year.
no, he's been underutilized his whole career. I didn't really understand why they handed him in the contract in the first place. And now it'd make the most sense to move on from him out of all of them. He's the most expensive and possibly the least effective. So could be seeing him in a new uniform next year.
I mean, hey, somebody might be able to get a good discount on him, give him another chance. We'll see what happens with that. But yeah, very, very interesting on the Bears. I mean, again, we also talked about the Bears a lot last week, and we're about to talk to them about them more later on in the video. But they're just weird. Weird stuff is happening in Chicago, and I am sorry to all Chicago fans. But moving on to Malcolm Butler to the Cardinals. Can he replace Patrick Peterson?
I think so. I think he can replace Patrick Peterson pretty well. I mean, there's a lot of people that have been of the opinion that he's a product of the one play in the Super Bowl, the infamous interception. But I think he's a good player. I think he's a dynamic player. He's had some down years with the Titans, and he's up and down in coverage sometimes, but he can still be an excellent corner. And since Patrick Peterson and the Cardinals have been headed for divorce for a very long time, I think it's a pretty effective replacement. And it's only a 1 year trial. So at worst, they say bye after this season and no harm done.
No, I actually completely agree with you. Even though I was one of those people that were kind of on that Malcolm Butler little bit of a hate train of saying, his major success was that interception in the Super Bowl that shouldn't have even have happened. But we're not gonna talk. We're not talking about Super Bowls. We're talking about Malcolm Butler, but I do think that he has progressed very well. Like looking at last season, I mean, he has similar numbers, if not better numbers, than Patrick Peterson last season, and he's 2 mil cheaper.
So where's the issue with this signing? I don't see it.
No, I think it's a very decent signing by the Cardinals. Now it's not like splashy or anything, but I mean Patrick Peterson wasn't that splashy either for the Cardinals. Maybe it's because he had didn't like him, and maybe he'll play better now. But I mean that's a roll of the dice. Can't bet on that one. So I do think that Malcolm Butler is a very good pickup for the Cardinals, and I think he'll slot in just nicely for them. But moving on to the Seahawks in the same division, Carlos Dunlap returns.
After they cut him from a bigger cap hit, I mean they're still paying him way too much. If I'm not mistaken, it was like 2 years, 16, so about 8 million a year. That's still way too much for a barely above average pass rusher.
Yeah,
Who's aging at that.
yeah, it was
He's
sixteen
not going
point
to be
six
going up.
million.
Yeah, he's not going to be getting any better. He's only getting older. It's not like he's entering into his prime or something. It's just been averaged to this point. So I don't see the benefit. I
No,
mean, they're desperate for pass rushers at this point. There's not too many of them left, but not a great signing.
no, for the money, it wasn't a great signing. Like I get wanting Dunlap back because Seahawks and trying to not break up everything in Seattle. So I get like trying to keep as many veterans on your defense as possible. But for this price, like,
It's too
I
much.
mean, he
He's
had
not that
32
effective
tackles,
anymore.
6 sacks, and 4 passes defended.
He's
That's
all right.
that's not over 8 million a year contract worth to me. Like, I mean, maybe he has a break. I mean, I don't know, but yeah, I'm not super thrilled about the Seahawks. At least for the Seahawks, I don't personally care what the Seahawks do, but as like if I was a Seahawks fan, I would be very very sus of how much money they gave Carlos Dunlap. But moving on, let's predict somewhere some free agents might go. And let's start this off by seeing how we did last week. Now, only one of our people that we guessed on last week actually signed somewhere, and that was Sammy
Sammy Watkins.
Watkins to the Ravens.
Lee's happy about that one.
This guy
I'm
got
I'm
it.
not 100% sold on it. I mean, he got it right. I thought he was going to go to the Chiefs, but okay, that's enough
Okay, okay,
celebrating there,
okay,
buddy.
okay, okay. Um, but no, I'm happy for the Ravens. Honestly, I mean, 6 year or 6 million 1 year. Flip the numbers. So 1 year, 6 million is a very good price for Sammy Watkins, and his best years were with Greg Roman and their wide receiver coach back in Buffalo. Sorry, no, it wasn't.
the wide receiver coach.
Yeah.
It was the passing game coordinator.
Yes, it was a
But
passing game coordinator who was the same in Buffalo that is in Baltimore right now. And that was his best years. That was Sammy Watkins' best years.
I mean, I don't think he's going to get any better than what he has been the past couple of years. But if there's a chance, it's going to be in Baltimore, and it's only a 1 year deal, so I don't see overly much harm in it.
No,
They
it's a
were desperate
nice.
for wide receiver since they struck out everywhere else with Juju and Galladay and Ty.
Well, we
But
also might have figured out why they may have struck out a little bit on some things. Why their uh, free agency hasn't been as explosive as people had hoped. It's because they might be dealing with the
Earl Thomas situation, Earl Thomas might be about to take 10 million of their cap space, depending on how the settlement with his grievance goes.
yeah. It's looking like
He's
5 to 10 million. Could be what he gets,
yeah, and that
and
would give them certainly a lot less cap space. We're supposed to have 17-ish right now, I think, if there's no settlement, and it could go all the way down to 7, which means they need to save that for their rookies. So they did not have that much money to play with, so they couldn't be in the running for the big dogs, like Juju and Galladay. But it's the way it goes.
no, yes, most definitely. That is 100% the way it goes sometimes. Um, and when you only have seven, I mean, after this is after Sammy Watkins signing, when you only have 17 million and 10 of it can go away, you need about 5 to 7 of it for your rookies. So can't really do too much else. I mean, you could maybe sign one more cheap person, which I'm about to get to. Um, but again, like they're not going to do splashy things right now. But let's move on to predicting some more people. Starting off with Jadeveon Clowney. Now, he did went and talk to the Cleveland Browns. Now, he did go and talk to the Cleveland Browns, and that is actually 100% where I think he'll go. I think he goes to the Browns.
I think so too. Him being paired with Miles Garrett, it's too good to be true for Browns fans and for the organization. I mean, he was best as a second fiddle when he was playing opposite J.J. Watt, and Miles Garrett seems to be just as disruptive as J.J. Watt was there. So maybe Jadeveon Clowney can reclaim some of that potential that he showed when he was with the Texans.
Yeah, yeah, and, it was sure would have been a shame to not gotten rid of Jadeveon Clowney. Would have been a real shame. Um, but yes, no, you are 100% correct. His best years were on the other side of another great pass rusher and a better pass rusher than him, and he didn't have that in Tennessee.
Or with Seattle,
or
neither
with
one.
Seattle. No, 100%. And so I think going to Cleveland playing second fiddle, he should be real happy with that because his numbers will go back up. Yeah, no, I really like the whole Clowney to the Browns, but let's move on to oh yeah, I guess we could also talk about this gentleman, Jaron Reed. We were actually going to predict where
Predict
he
where
was
he was
going
going
to
to land.
go, but he ended up signing with the Chiefs.
It's a good signing for the Chiefs, and they got him for relatively cheap
Seven
for
million
his.
1 year.
Yeah, pairing him with Frank Clark is going to shore up their D line. I like Jaron Reed. He's gotten some hate recently since he signed his big contract, and that's why Seattle let him go because he hasn't quite lived up to it. But I think he's a good player, and I think he'll do very well for the Chiefs. I
Oh
was hoping the Cowboys might enter into the conversation for him, but Chiefs snapped him right up almost immediately. So
no, it was very quick. It was very I like we had already planned out what we were going to be talking about, and then all of a sudden Jaron Reed is signed, and it's just like, wait, what? But I mean, okay, yeah, sure, go to the Chiefs. Um, I mean, yeah, it's going to make their defense a lot better, but I mean, there's still other question marks on the Chiefs. And we could talk about that, when we talk about them later on. And kind of see how their offseason develops, but I'm still a little sus of the Chiefs right now. I mean, like they have a great team and obviously they have a great coach. So yeah, I mean I understand having faith in them, but at the same time, I don't like some of their moves that they have done, and we talked about some of those last week. Um, but let's move on to one of those bad moves that I thought were by the Chiefs is the Mitchell Schwartz. Um, and I think a fantastic team to go and get Mitchell Schwartz on a small contract are the Ravens. So, yes, I am picking another person to go to the Ravens, but it's only because this is going to be a very small contract. And so it's something that they could realistically get by with and still pay uh, Earl Thomas
Incoming rookies. Yeah.
and incoming rookies. Yeah. Um, so I really like that, and they don't have that much depth at right tackle or on the right at all, really. And they're possibly going to be trading Orlando Brown, which I honestly think they should. If he wants to play left tackle, trade him for good value, and then sign this right tackle. Boom, bada bing, done, easy.
No, that would be an excellent landing spot for him. But I would like to see him go to Seattle. Seattle needs some O line help. I mean, they gotta appease Mr. Wilson a little bit, and they don't seem to be doing much on that front. And if they don't hurry up, we're gonna see him say adios to Seattle very shortly, I think. So that could be a quick, easy, cheap way to give Russell Wilson some help.
No, 100%. Russell Wilson does need the help. I mean, I could see the Seahawks pulling a trigger on it, but at the same time, like, again, it's another team that I've just been sus of this offseason, so seeing them make a good move is kind of hard. But
It's
moving
fair.
on to Casey Hayward. Now, I think that the Jaguars really need a good vet in their secondary, and that is exactly what they would get with Casey Hayward. And they have the money to do it.
That's true. That would give them an advantage over the team that I would pick him to go to, which is another AFC South team in the Titans. Titans released their whole secondary pretty much, and they aren't going to be able to replace three starters in their secondary in the draft. So grabbing Casey Hayward would be relatively inexpensive way to grab a veteran that could immediately plug and play as a starter, if not your number one corner. I mean, I don't know what they were thinking when they cut everybody in their secondary. I mean, they cut a Dory Jackson and Malcolm Butler. You can't get rid of your two starting corners in the same offseason. It does not go well.
I I mean, no, it doesn't go well, but I'm totally okay with it.
Well,
Um,
we know you hate Tennessee,
yeah,
but
I am not a big fan of those Titans. I'm not a big fan of you guys. You guys. Titans fans, y'all are okay. The organization, there's a lot. We'll get into that another day. But I could see them getting Hayward, obviously. I mean, they need the help. They really do. I just think that the Jaguars could throw more money, and they also need it. And their defense is going to be better than the Titans. So I don't see why not. I don't see why Casey wouldn't want to go somewhere where he will probably be better.
Jaguars could be better than the Titans next year.
I'm talking about their
But
defense, not the whole team. I'm saying the
okay,
defense.
got
Like,
you.
I'm not saying that they get a better record. I'm saying the future is brighter in Jacksonville, and their defense is probably going to be better.
Yeah,
But oh, sorry.
I was going to say that depends on if they give him a long term because he may not be there for the future. That's bright. If it's going to be 1 year deal, I think he takes a Titans deal because there's a better chance of immediate contention
No, that is 100% fair. That is 100% fair. But I think the Jaguars can offer a multi-year contract because
if they
again they
so
have the
wish.
money.
Yes.
But staying on defense, let's move on to Aldon Smith. Now, just kind of playing in the seat of a Ravens fan real quick. You would love to live in magical Christmas land where you could get Mitchell Schwartz, Aldon Smith, not pay Earl Thomas, and then still be able, to sign your rookies. But that's probably not going to happen. So I'm not picking Aldon Smith to the Ravens, but they do need some pass rusher help. So I could see the Ravens, maybe being in the conversation if they don't get Mitchell Schwartz. I just think they should go after Schwartz more than Smith. But the team I think he should go to, or no, let me rephrase that. But the team that I think that will grab him could be the Vikings. Now they need a pass rusher there. They've let a lot of people go,
in the
and
last couple of years. Yeah.
this would allow them to not have to pick a pass rusher early in the draft, and they can focus on some other things and maybe pick up a prospect later and let Aldon Smith train that prospect.
Yeah, well, that could make a lot of sense for them. But I think Seattle. I'm going to pick another guy to go to Seattle since Dallas is no longer in the running for Aldon Smith. I love Aldon Smith. I like the Aldon Smith experiment. I think it went pretty well. I think he's a good guy, and I'm proud of his resurgence. But it seems that he's looking for a new home. And Seattle has not been afraid to take on projects like Aldon Smith because he still is. He's still a project. I mean, he was out of the league for 4 or 5 years or whatever it was. So they need some more help on their D line. Carlos Dunlap's not enough, and he could be really cheap, and it just makes sense for them as an organization.
No, yeah, 100%. I could definitely see him going to Seattle, but you did also, I believe, last week pick two people to go to the Chiefs, and
Yeah,
one of
I
them
picked.
was at least wrong. So let's see if you get these two right.
We'll see. We'll see.
I just think it's interesting that now 2 weeks in a row you've picked two people to go to the same team out of the list of people that we've come up with. It's just cool. It's just cool. And don't forget to leave your comments down below. We would love to hear any and all opinions. We're very good about that. We love to hear what you guys have to say. And you know what? Sometimes, if you make a really good argument for something, maybe we'll throw it in on an episode or something, talk about it. But don't forget to like and subscribe and all that good YouTube algorithm, all that good stuff. But until next time, I'm Lee.
And I'm Joel, and I'll see you next week.
And this is Two Nerds Sportscast, and we are peacing out. Y'all have a good one.